Christian values to say that his perspective of the two, that in his, opinion, one feels better than the other.
I mean, we
It
can't, but
it just
most Christian preachers and like disagree with that take.
yeah, because that's literally what Jesus did. Was He's God who became a man to not only sympathetically under.
Yeah, let me just make sure everything is working properly. For some reason, voice meter messes up. Yeah, let me just make sure everything is working properly. For some reason, voice meter messes up. Yeah, very low. Yeah, let me just make sure everything is working properly. It's okay. It's okay. It's working. A little bit of an echo, but could be worse. Yeah, let me just make sure. Hello, hello, hello. It's okay. You can still hear me. It's working. A little bit of an echo, but
Says the same thing. I don't understand why there's still pushback.
Well, but I mean, I think that with some of these other big controversial, like sound bites, for lack of a better word, when you do pull them out in context, they do change dramatically. I mean, think about what he said about the Second Amendment and how people are saying that he said that, just a handful of, people losing their lives a year is a price worth paying. By itself, that's one thing. But I mean, I apply it to, my son passed away from a counterfeit pill laced with, the F word.
Wow.
And basically,
Sorry
I'm
to hear
very
that,
much
man.
I'm in favor of stricter legislation on, Q2s, and I'm also in favor of stricter legislation as it applies to illicit substances. And by some people's mentality, you shouldn't have stricter policies on illicit substances because that further stigmatizes, and it might lead to people being afraid to call in something if somebody needs help because they're afraid they're going to get into trouble, and that could result in a life being lost unnecessarily. But from my perspective, that might be the case, but I view far more lives being saved, and that in the greater context, there's more value too. And even if it does come at the expense of those rare instances, I still see value in it. And that's the point he was making with the Second Amendment. He wasn't saying that anyone's lives were less valuable, but rather that there is an inherent risk to having those in our, available, so to speak, but that he still saw more benefit in perspectives to, tyrannical government and some of the other aspects that people feel so strongly about the Second Amendment. And so it's like when you make that little tiny clip and say that he said that he didn't care if people died, like that's just completely out of context. And even if you don't agree with it along with the context, it's still a totally different point.
Yeah, but the reality is that he still said it, right? And so the implications of what he said, he still has to be accountable for.
I mean, but you could take a sentence that I say and cut it down to 2 words and tell somebody that I said something that I didn't say. You know what I mean?
True.
Well,
I agree.
the
And
thing
then
that
you could
he's
say,
Hold
yeah,
on,
I
hold
didn't
on,
say
Craig.
the word "the" in the
I don't
sentence,
want
but anyways, that's all.
to. I don't want to keep Cameron waiting. Thank you for coming up, Cam. I'm gonna go to you, and then I'm gonna. Excuse me. We're gonna hear from Crystal. Go ahead, Cameron, man. Thank you for coming up. What you want to say?
So I just wanna start off to say I do think Charlie Kirk is a racist, uh, just because I feel like he weaponized a lot of his statistics, knowing that a lot of people won't fully understand the context that he was bringing them in. Now, I don't agree that he should have been, what happened to him. I don't agree with that 100%. I don't agree with people stomping on his grave. I do think that if you're stomping on his grave and celebrating it, then you are a problem and you should be fired from your job. Just because that's pretty nasty. You
I
don't do
agree.
that.
I agree with that.
But like I said, I personally think he's a racist just because of how he used his statistics.
So
Uh,
you saying he weaponized? You're not saying he weaponizes Christianity. You're saying he weaponizes statistics. That's what makes him racist because he.
could be worse. Yeah, let me just make sure.
how he uses statistics.
So you saying he weaponized you're not saying he weaponizes Christianity.
But that's not the area. That's not my area of expertise. I'll leave that to y'all. Y'all can decide if he weaponized scripture or whatever. But with me, he definitely weaponized his statistics.
So if he was a racist, then he wouldn't talk about ways to make the black community better. He wouldn't even entertain a black person coming up and talking to him at
That's
all.
not true. That's not true.
Yes, it absolutely is true.
No, it's not.
It's not true at all.
Hold on. Let her finish, and I'll respond to it.
Let her finish. Go ahead.
I don't think you guys fully understand what a white supremacist.
Hey, one of y'all got a background a TV that's really loud. One of y'all can turn your TV down. We can hear it.
They don't. If you are racist against somebody, let's say you are a white person, you're racist against a black person, you don't want to talk to them. You want nothing to do with them. You're not going to say things to try and make their life better, or you're never going to say something like "we are all equal." The things that he said, he was trying to. First of all, he went to colleges because there's no critical thinking in a lot of the younger generations at all. There's absolutely none. They think that they hear something 3 or 4 times on TikTok or YouTube, and then that's a fact, and they don't go do any research at all. He was trying to get them to critically think about things. And if you listen, if someone says to you, "This is what Charlie Kirk said," then go and try to find that video and watch the whole thing and watch the context of it, because there's a lot of propaganda going on about how certain people are racist, but they're doing that because those are the racist people who are trying to keep the black community down. Okay, they want to make those are the racist people that do that.
Go ahead, Cam. You're going to smile.
Okay, so for one, you can be racist, still talk to black people, still have black friends, black family, even black children. That doesn't matter. But that I mean, that's you can just have that decision whatever you want. But you can be white and still be racist and still deal with black people. I mean, David Duke was the head of the KKK, and he was an elected representative.
Try friendly
And
language.
still-
We
and
can't
still-
say that. We can't say that 3-letter sequence like that. Say triple K.
Okay. Yep. Triple K. He was a leader of the Triple K. Still was an elected representative and still dealt with black people every day. That did not make him any less racist. He was a known racist. Now I'm not gonna go as far as to say Charlie Kirk was a supremacist or anything, but he was definitely racist by how he weaponized the statistics.
This is the problem. This is the problem with talking to black people, communicating with them. The key to understanding black people is understanding that they think everything and everybody is racist except for them. Even though, by the definition of the word racist, they are the only racist, since they are the only ones who make everything about race. To be a racist, you're going to have to make everything about race. Every argument, they make food about race. They make diets about race. They make water about race. I had a black person try to convince me that black people invented water and white people stole the invention. Like the mass formation psychosis that black people suffer is not something that you're going to be able to reverse. And if you cannot tell over the past 150 years, there is no coexisting with it. The black culture and American culture are antithetical to one another. One culture attempts to preserve life. One culture tries to take it, and they just run cover. Whenever you try to stop them from killing each other, they want to fight you. They want to kill each other uninterrupted. Now, when we make suggestions, okay, why don't you move back to another country? In Africa, they do a lot of killing of each other and no one really cares. Why not just develop a colony, work out a mass migration and go somewhere where you don't have to worry about going to prison because you want to kill each other. They won't do it. They hate white people, but they won't go away from them. And that's the problem when you listen to these arguments, because they're not just nonsensical, they're non existent. They're not making any points. They're just mad because Charlie Kirk was trying to tell them, in his opinion, what the solutions to their problems are. What are their problems in the black community? Murder and no family. Murder, and the women are so insufferable that the men cannot stand to be with them. So the families are broken up, the children become gay, or they become prisoners, or they become both, because there's no father in the household. Everything else can be mitigated, but when you're depending on the state for all your answers, you're going to basically just become a product of the state. Now, when you're a product of the state, the only way you can actually generate any benefit is when you're being housed by the state because you're in prison. Prison is the only place for a lot of these children and these people to go. And everyone knows that except for them. They would just rather go to prison. They are now, instead of creating a mass migration to Africa or to another country, they would rather just get pulled over and try to fight the police on the side of the road. Fight the police when they're called shoplifting. Fight instead of just leaving. If you know you're going to die because you're fighting with our law enforcement, because you don't respect our laws and you don't respect our Constitution, because listen to these black people on this panel. They hate the First Amendment. They hate Charlie Kirk because he can speak his mind. And they're upset that they could not understand a lot of his speech. Many of them are autistic and they're not necessarily bright, but they're coming on these panels on TikTok to expound why they are so upset. Oh, he would come to these colleges and he would talk to people that weren't very smart. But he's talking to you. You're upset because he had a leg up on his arguments because he did his research and he was well versed. That's not a Charlie Kirk problem. That's a you problem. So when you're listening to this Black Army, because what this is a Black Army consortium. These are all people that are black and that are gay, and they're all coming to this chat to literally gloat about why they're happy he passed. Even though blacks and gays are lying dead in the streets of LA and Chicago and Atlanta right as we speak, they're laughing at one white man. It's because culturally they also value life differently than the rest of the world. How do you exist and let your children be around people that don't respect your children's lives or their own? And that's where people mess up. You want to believe everyone's the same. You want to believe everyone's good. But it's been proven there's literally historical record that they do not value life the same. That's why they're gloating at it. The Black Army is made up of people that are not black or white. That's just a name. That's a name that I came up with that combines the LGBTQ and the black community, because those two communities have now been combined. When you see these people speaking, but they're white, you got to understand they're also gay. That's why they're speaking out against white people, because they are no longer white. These bald black women, you think they're black, but they're gay. They're speaking on behalf of the gay community. They're just presenting black, and that's where a lot of people are misunderstanding, and they don't get that there's a separate group. You can be black, you can be white, you can be gay. If you're gay, you're not white or black. You're not Mexican no more. You're not Indian. You have to get rid of all those things, and you're under the gay trans ideology. You're a part of the cult. I'm trying to explain to people so people can know what to look out for. And some people are understanding. Some people are it's taking a little bit more time, but it is coming around.
Their lifestyles, as long as they don't, I mean, I think obviously we know how he felt about certain elements of, like the transgender community, but overall, like as it pertained to just gay marriages and whatnot, that he believed that what people do in their private life should not really have a place in those conversations.
Right. No, I agree with him on that. Like, what I do in my bedroom is nobody else's business, just like a man and a woman, what y'all do in your bedroom is your business, right? So, like, I'm not easily offended by that. There are a lot of gay people who are offended by that because they believe that their lifestyle should be accepted and be even and equal to everyone else. And I get it. Like, I would love for like my children to go to school and be accepted for having two moms. Like, but I also know that they're going to go to school and somebody's going to have something negative to say about it. And that's the life that I chose, one. And it's also the life that I chose for him because I wanted to have children, right? So that's a selfish part of me for wanting to have children and know that my children may go to school and they may struggle through that. But do I think that Charlie was wrong? No, I don't think he was wrong. I think he's right to have his biblical beliefs on what gay marriage and what we do. Like, I'm not offended by it, but there are people who are.
In any way that Charlie Kirk was racist?
Do I believe he was a racist? No, I don't think he was racist. I think he had a lot of harsh things to say of reality and truth. And he basically wanted everyone to be equal in terms of, like, you shouldn't get what you get because you're black, or you shouldn't get what you get because you're white. You get what you get because you have earned what you are receiving.
Merit. Yeah, he was about merit, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
Which is all good and fine if the playing field is equal. The reality is the playing field is not equal.
You know,
Tell me
before
more
I
on
go,
that.
Wendell, I just wanted to ask you, when you were talking about some of the disparaging things that he had to say about the three women of color, when he was talking about, you know, DEI and whatnot, do you feel like if his opinions were those, do you think it's simply because they are people of color that he should have felt prohibited from saying them? Do you think if he felt that way and he said it because that's just how he felt, that it automatically has to indicate that that was being said about this simply based on their race? Or do you think that if you feel a certain way about somebody, but they are a minority, that a non-minority should just hold their tongue?
No, he's entitled to say whatever he wants to say. All I'm saying is he then has to be held accountable for what he said.
But my
And
question was,
we can't rewrite history and say he didn't say it.
of course, but my question was, does it automatically have to reflect racism?
No, but the statement did reflect racism because he's specifically talking about black women not having the brain processing power to occupy a position that they occupied.
But the
Which
whole,
is
I think you
which is how he usually talked about
he's
black
talking
women.
specifically about three black women. He didn't say black women in a whole. He's talking about
Okay,
three specific
how many qualify for him?
individuals.
How many qualify then for? How many does he have to talk about for him to be considered racist? What's the number? What's the percentage? Since y'all love statistics so much, how many black women does he have to talk about for him to be racist?
He would have to talk about as many black women as you always refer to. All of them. If a man specifically says these three women were DEI hires, they were not here based on their merits, but they were here based on their appearance, how the hell is that racist? You know, the thing is, they've perverted the word racist. They've changed the definition to suit their needs. I don't even think they know what it means anymore, but it's their cudgel, it's their crutch. You tell someone that they're being racist if they don't do something, and depending on their level of fear, they might bow down and give you what you want because they don't want the label on their name. So it's a weapon. It's not an actual real thing. See, racism equals restriction. None of these people are being restricted from the internet. They're not being restricted from banks or bathrooms or water fountains. So there's nothing racist happening to them, but it's in their minds. These people are mentally ill. That's why it's mass formation psychosis. There's masses of people that live in an alternative reality in their minds that is not in line with the real world. How do we deal with that? How do we live next door to people that are not there? In their minds, there's evil white people floating around them, watching their every move, tormenting them, stopping them from getting work that they never even applied for. You know, I have these talks with people, like, and their responses to me, and I'm thinking to myself, have you never met a black person? But the question is, have you ever had a conversation with a black person? You've seen them at the store, you've walked by them in restaurants, but have you ever actually spoke to one for more than 5 minutes? The answer is no. For one thing, they hate you. They hate anyone who's not black or gay. That's it. So your children, they hate. They want to see them dead. They want to see Charlie Kirk dead. They're now calling for his wife to be also assassinated. These people are sick. So that's why I'm like, there's no really talking to them. We've been talking to them for about 40. Matter of fact, there was a song where, let's see here. They can't stop from killing each other. Before we talk to them, they used to talk to themselves.
That I troubling you with such more lives overnight, all the result of gang bang stupidity. By the way, you gangsters yourself want to give a 3-year-old girl. Local gang members, you don't get it, do you?
Straight up madness everywhere I look. Used to be a straight A student. Now as a crook, robbing people just to smoke and do. Used to have a crew cut, now he's a poop butt. Dropped out of school and he joins the neighborhood gang. Hanging on the street selling cane. Loot with old people. Now when I say people, I mean color. You a stupid motherfucker.
Since we are the mothers of this earth, it's time to start being good mothers from the birth of our children.
This is a song from the year 1990. They were talking to themselves back then. They were pleading and begging with one another to stop killing each other. They have, fast forward, fun fact, none of these songs meant anything. They have not stopped one. Actually, they've increased the violence. Now, the way these neighborhoods are set up where they are contained, the violence is contained for the most part. There's collateral damage in other communities in the surrounding areas. They do branch out, but for the most part, the violence is contained. Now that the violence has been branching out, since they've removed redlining and these other methods that were used to protect society from this particular hyper-violent group, now you have to worry about others being affected by this violence. This is not everybody. If you speak to a black person, they're going to tell you all the Asians are killing each other, all the Indians are killing each other, all the white people are just murdering each other. Matter of fact, white people kill this, and they just make up lies and they use any statistic they can find to try to justify their own genocide. So you're trying to talk to these people, and you think you're going to have a better effect than themselves. They could not even talk to themselves. This is not new. This has been going on for a very long time. I would say since the 70s. Ever since they got rid of fathers in the home so that they can get welfare checks and government cheese. Ever since Martin Luther King came into their lives and turned them into communist statists that wanted to depend on the government to solve their problems. Except the government's not good at solving problems. The government is good at keeping problems going so they can spend money on those problems and everybody makes a profit. The government doesn't solve anything. So
No time for sleeping, teaching to fight win for the right reason. It's your time, it's your life, live it. Proud to be black, young and gifted, lifted by the knowledge of taking the right route. Gang violence needs to be wiped out.
They didn't listen to each other about gang violence, and now they're just in denial about it. They're more upset about Charlie Kirk talking about gang violence than they actually are about the violent gang murders that are happening to their children every single night. You cannot rationalize or speak to anyone in this deep of a delusion. It's not possible. I can say this because I've been entrenched most of my life. I've been around these people. Don't live around them. They don't live around themselves. Once there was a woman that was talking on this panel. She was like, white people are this and this and this, but I live around them. Why do you live around them? Why don't you live in a black neighborhood? Why aren't you living around surrounded by black neighbors on both sides? You're a hypocrite and you're a liar. You know, they have all these bullshit revolutionary talking points, but they live conservative Republican lives, and they are deathly afraid of living around black people. They won't transition their kids, and they believe in God. Everything about them is a conservative. So we call them a dino. It means they're a Democrat in name only. How
Go
would a
ahead.
racist person speak towards? How would a racist person speak towards black people? Like if they was racist? Can you give me? And there is no talking to them about racism. They make up their own definitions in their head. They're not actual. This is not real racism. This is not really a thing. They're just making it up. It's all bullshit. It's all fake.
You know what I'm saying? I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that's. I don't even think that's a real thing. Now, yeah. I don't think a racist really would sit there and take their time and debate uh, on a racist at least and give them good information. Because if you look at the information he
So
gave, it
so
was like information that
if I say
all of
if
us
I
should
say I
agree with.
see a white if I say I see a white teacher, I'm
Hmm.
afraid that my kid is going to get indoctrinated. Is that racist?
I don't get the question.
If I see a white teacher at my son's school, I will be afraid that my son is going to be indoctrinated. Is that racist?
Indoctrinated by what?
White supremacy.
Some people might look at that as racist.
I just
Oh
want to
wow,
ask, is it from your
that
perspective?
is racist though, Dave. Just to let you know.
Wait.
I mean, like I said, a lot of you can't say it was not racist. If somebody feels something is racist that you said, who are you or who am I to say that's
But I
not
think
racist?
that's what it. But I think that's where the confusion coming that you don't understand how racist people speak. That's what you may be confused on that.
Well, Malaysia, I'm
Okay.
wondering, do you feel like a person who's not racist can still say a racist thing, maybe inadvertently, and not be wholeheartedly
No, they just
racist? Or
racist. No, they
so
just racist.
100%
No.
if you
Well,
say,
hold the fuck up. Why are we like doing all this and like
I'm sorry, y'all. Go ahead. Like I don't know where that came from. That was crazy. Y'all go ahead.
I don't think there's no halfway or there's no oh I
okay,
just said that if you're racist you're racist.
okay.
And Charlie Kirk definitely was. The things that he said towards other demographic groups that wasn't white, or even females, not even just black males, maybe black females. He didn't care
Hmm.
about any female. He told Taylor Swift, "Listen to your husband, Taylor.
Go take a nap,
Respect your
Ashley.
husband,
You sound
Taylor."
like sound like you need a little. All right. So you think he was okay? Yeah, I don't. Okay.
So he
You want the
said,
Bible stuff is
Taylor,
a
listen to
slippery
your
slope.
husband, and that's a bad thing?
The Bible stuff is a slippery slope. I will talk about it for a second, right?
He used it as a weapon.
As a married man, right? Is I can say in that instance, I don't necessarily think he was weaponized. Now, I do think a little bit he could have bastardized it, but who doesn't, right? Who doesn't bastardize the Bible to fit their narratives and their views?
Hmm.
It happens, but it does have a hierarchy in the Bible. That's plain and simple: God, man, woman, children. That's saying. So in that context, I mean, it's that's pretty cut and dry with that. I mean, how he said it could be his delivery, but and that's just how Christian people think, especially extremely Christian people. Is God, man, woman, children. That's just how it is.
He's speaking about Christian people as if he's not a Christian himself. He was raised Christian. Push come to shove, he's going to say he's a Christian, but he's saying that well, that's how Christian people speak. But you're a Christian. You're not an atheist. You're not Islamic. You know, it's crazy. All the smoke people have for the religion of Christianity, but they never have nothing to say about Islam, Buddhists, Catholics. They don't say anything. They specifically come after Jesus and Christians. They have nothing to say about Islam. I wonder why. As if that ideology suits them better. But let's see if they have anything else to say.
To critically think, and he was trying to give them a different perspective, which in some ways I think was a good thing. I think it's good that liberal college students got a chance to kind of sharpen their minds against his ideas, right? I do have issues calling what he was doing debate, right? And that's coming from someone who I've been a performer. I used to do traveling as a stand-up comic. I did that.
Listen to his voice. He is gay. He's Black Army. The Black Army, the gays, black people, they all made deals with the Democratic Party for their support. The gays and the blacks feel like Charlie was making it harder for them to get what they negotiated. What black people wanted was to be able to commit crimes with impunity. They don't want to be arrested. It's kind of like how it was in California, where you can shoplift up to $1,000 and they wouldn't call the police, and if they did call the police, they'd get fired. That's what the black community wanted, what the gay community wanted, with the black army. What their real goal is, when people talk about liberals, we're gonna bring up the Bill Maher segment in a second. When they're saying, well, the right wing will talk to you, but the left won't, because the left is embarrassed about what their grievances are. What the left wants, the only thing they actually want, the only right they said they do not have for a gay person or a trans person, there's only one right that they said they lost when Trump became president that they no longer have. Who here wants to take a guess what that right is? Anybody? I'll tell you what it is. It's the right to legally have sex with children. All of this, there's no real culture war. We all are the same. We live the same way. If you want to be gay and be a man walking around in a dress at your nightclubs, we don't give a shit. We'll even, we would even hire you to work for us. We didn't mind that. The problem is, you want to have access to kids. You're not attracted to people your age. You're attracted to little kids. That's why they need Drag Queen Story Hour. That's why they need all age drag shows. The only right that they feel that they lost was they lost the right to legally have sex with kids. Now, when I say legally, what I mean is that in a state like California, it was decriminalized. It was making its way east until our amazing president Trump came in. A lot of people say a lot of that became to Charlie Kirk enlightening the masses to what Trump was fighting for and what he was fighting against. The problem with the left is that they can't come out and tell you they want to have sex with children. That's what the P in the LGBTQP stands for. So that's the only thing they're fighting for. That's why I keep telling people, stop saying it's left versus right. There's a culture war. That's not it. There's nothing that we all live the same, follow the same laws. They're not, yeah, they want to do murder with abortions. That's been going on for a long time. What they really want is access to children without going to prison. You know, when they used to have that phrase, being in the closet, that's because if you were caught diddling kids or being a pedo, a white man in a uniform would come arrest you. So men that were doing crimes against children, they would hide in the closet. That's what this whole thing about being in the closet, that's where it comes from. When someone comes out of the closet is when they're finally able to admit that they're into children. They're called MAPS, minor attracted persons. Will you ever under any circumstances accept MAPS as a protected group under a sexual orientation? Will you ever, as an American, as a man, as a woman, as an adult, will you ever accept a sexuality that involves having relations with children? Because if you can, because you got to think about it, if gender is a man-made construct, then what is time? Time is also a man-made construct. If you can say, you know what, I'm a man, but I feel like I'm a woman, and I can just change my gender, then you can also change your age. I'm 50 years old, but I feel like I'm 10. And if you see an 8-year-old boy and you convince him that he's really 25, well then, if the police come and you live in a liberal jurisdiction and they have to respect your ideology as far as your sexuality, your orientation, and the waters are so muddy, can you even arrest the 50-year-old who thinks he's a 10-year-old? Or do you have to respect do you have to affirm their delusion? If you have to believe that a man dressed as a furry creature is a furry, and you have to accept it and you have to affirm his identity, you would have no choice but to affirm their alleged new age. None of this is about, there's nothing else we don't get along with. The only thing they don't like about Trump is the kid stuff. He hunts pedophiles, he locks them away. He wants to give them the death penalty, same as Ron DeSantis in Florida. That's why I said DeSantis would be a great president. But this whole high heels thing was a big distraction from that. There's nothing we don't get along with these people about. Now, when it comes to black people, their envy and jealousy of white culture and the white family structure, because they don't have fathers, they envy this white family structure and their fathers. That's going to be a harder thing to understand. But the problem is they've aligned with the LGBTQ, and now even the black community has to protect pedophiles so that they can keep their imaginary war against white supremacy going. But it's just amazing when they use that terminology, so you admit that you think white people are supreme. But white people never say that. So it really turns out that it's actually just a black inferiority complex that's all upstairs. It's in your mind. It's nothing to do with reality. Your inferiority complex causes you to hate these other people. But you want to be around them or as close to them as possible because you're their children. It's a weird dynamic where, you know, your kids revolt because they're spoiled. And in America, white people have been the parent and blacks have been the recipients of their success in the world. You can't even get to black people without going through white people. This was a problem, and that's where the vax came in. And that's why we can't release the Epstein files yet, because the CV vax files are the prequel to the Epstein files. The Epstein files are literally just about vaccine files. They can't tell you that because they're going to try to blame it all on Trump and warp speed. This is from way before warp speed. There has to be a solution to this black problem. Bill Gates, Fauci, Klaus Schwab, and a dozen countries all agreed upon a solution to the problem. I, being my color and being on Facebook, and I'm able to keep score, if you go to Safe and Effective Podcast, I can tell you that the vaccine is effective if you understand what effect it was meant to cause. This problem that's staring us in the face right now with these people that hate you based on your color makes them racist. It's a problem that there was nothing else that we could do to fix. The vaccine was prophecy. The vaccine is their reparations. And it seems sad, but 13% in the next few years will be the 4% or less. It's already happening. You don't know because you don't know any black people. I do. My black friends, their entire families are being wiped. 7 or 8 people a month dropping, disappearing from the map. A lot of them, they're being written off as overdoses. A lot of people are telling you they're just overdosing or they had a heart attack or, you know, blood clot. Their memories are short. They don't want to remember that 3 years ago, a woman who they all voted for, 92%, said, if you don't vote for me, you're a Trump supporter. If you don't take this jab, you don't take this experimental injection, you're a Trump supporter. So it is necessary. But again, all vaccines are safe and effective. I love them. I trust them. It just depends on what you want the desired effect to be. There was no other way. There really was no other way. You know, and right now we're looking at all the effects and we're looking at all the benefits of the vaccine. But one thing we can say is that it is going to help us solve the problem of racial animosity in the United States. So that's a good thing. That's another thing that's actually another benefit of the vaccine that they didn't put in the insert. But this problem with racism, or the alleged fake racism that everybody claims, you won't have to worry about that problem anymore. You won't have any problems to worry about anymore. So let's also be grateful for that. We must thank Dr. Fauci. We must thank Kamala Harris. We must thank Joe Biden. We must thank Pfizer, Moderna. We must thank them for their contribution. Without them, we would have been dealing with these problems right here for another 30 years, maybe God knows how long, until the end of the Republic. Actually, this problem left festering would have actually ended the Republic eventually. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but in the meantime, we're going to keep records and we're going to just listen to what they're saying, because we are the party that listens. We want to gain understanding. But can you really rationalize and understand a person who's crazy? If I walk up to you and say, "Hey, good morning, how are you doing?" and you say, how far are we going to get? We're not going to get very far. So, but we can try.
And I kind of have been surprised as I've kind of dipped my toes into like TikTok more, like how much of a representation there are both on the opposite ends of the political spectrum.
Well, I mean, there has been a growing number of like minority Republicans, and a lot of black people that are Democrat, though, they see some of the racism in the Republican Party, and that's what throws them off. Like I'm a person that I'm willing to vote for either or, right? Depending on how I feel about you,
That's how it should be.
and stuff like that. Because some so not all Republicans are obviously racist, right? And like I said earlier, a lot of black people are very religious and inherently conservative. That's the truth. A lot of black people, if you grew up I don't know if you're black or not, but if you grew up in a black household, it's a lot of conservative values. You dress a certain type of way, you act a certain type of way, you go to church. That stuff typically with conservatism and Republicans. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, and that's how we should be voting is, I mean, we're all a culmination of our lived experiences. And, certainly losing my son to the circumstances I did really sent me
so
to a
messed up.
rabbit hole. And that really kind of
Please stop
changed
laughing.
my perspective on life and
For your loss, Don.
values. Thank you.
Right,
But,
that is
it's like when you get presented with something in your life that kind of forces you to consider certain things and reprioritize, it's going to impact what's most important to you. And I think that's how we all should be. It shouldn't be, it's sad that it's so, there's just this line down the middle. I mean, I was shocked when I started to kind of lean more conservatively, how many of my liberal friends like really turned on me and really just didn't understand that my perspective on life is completely different than it was 2 years ago.
Hey, y'all, if anybody in here into this kind of stuff, Candace Owens did have some tweets lately. What up, Summer? Candace Owens has some tweets, and I don't want to repeat it because I don't know if the tweets are real. They got so much fake news, so much misinformation. If anybody in here could find out about that and get back to me and let me know if that's real, because if anybody would know, she would know. She hung out with him a lot. It was about him knowing about some things that were going to happen, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. So y'all need to let me. That's really came from her real account.
Yeah, that's real. And she did say too that like he was friends with some or was doing deals.
No. That's enough. That's enough. Not we're not gonna dig into that yet. We're gonna just verify.
But they are real. Yes.
We can get. I mean, we can get real deep.
Hold on, Cam. Hold on, Cam. Give me a second.
Speculation.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And we don't do speculation. I only go off of what you could prove. I don't want to be, they got too many pages on here spewing fake stuff. So I just don't want to be one of them. But anything that we could verify that got solid proof, I'm definitely willing to share that. But let's see, we got one more spot. All right, Cam, man, appreciate you coming up. Go ahead, request up if you got more to say. Kristen, you've been waiting in the queue. I appreciate you for waiting, man. What you want to say? Or say? Okay, ma'am.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
So, I don't want to like stick on this point too long, but what Cameron was saying about the whole DEI thing and how he brought up like white people's jobs. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, Charlie did say a white man's job, and that's only because white men are the only people not covered under DEI. Now, was it politically correct to say no? But he was just proving the point that white women are covered under DEI. Every minority of any sex is covered under DEI. Like, so in some ways, how he said it, maybe it was wrong, but that was the point he was trying to drive home. He wasn't saying a white person's job, but there was only one other group of people that it didn't affect versus it being applied to everyone else.
Okay. Glad to. Elliot, who is that? All right. Keep on rolling on. Thank you for coming up, man. What you want to say?
Thanks for having me. Now I can't read all the topics you got behind you because I ain't got my glasses with me. But to kind of piggyback off the DEI thing, I can see how these little tidbit of clips would have people thinking that he would, say that, black women can't think for themselves, women can't think for themselves. If you go back to when this whole issue with DEI started up, like he basically said, when he gets on a plane and if he sees a black pilot, he's like wondering if they're qualified. He immediately said before that clip got cut off, that's not his immediate response. That's not who he is. But with DEI, it invokes that kind of thinking. Like it invokes this type of immoral thinking because he's not thinking about, whether or not people like black people or women are actually not qualified. He's thinking, is the company trying to make these quotas? Just like a sales quota, you got to meet every month. When DEI starts coming in and telling you got to hire 40 to 60% of people that are not white or not male, you're not like they're cutting corners somewhere. So I get that. So it may not be a perfect answer that everybody wants to hear, and it is something hard to swallow. And like it's just it's like everything else on the internet. It's a bunch of cherry pick stuff from both sides, left and right. It's the name of politics. So, but
Well, someone came up here and said the test is not changed, but the score that's needed was lower so they could meet the quota. That's what someone else said that came up. That's in aviation.
I mean, but isn't that cutting corners though? If the score is lower, are we not expecting that same amount of excellence?
If that's the case, yes, that it is. I don't. Like I said, I mean, a lot of people we're still looking through that to see what's the. Some people say they changed the test. Some people say they made it easier. So at this point, I don't work for the airline, so that's why I hope to get professionals up here that can.
I read that in
give
order
us the truth.
for them to.
But
I read that as far as the DEI like criteria, that there is like really stricter, like there's stricter criteria than that. Like they really are supposed to get people with all a certain amount, like they have to increase the pool of candidates to a certain extent before they can really select select, and it's based on also like the position itself. Like McDonald's and various other lower jobs that have less requirements, they have less strict criteria, but overall they are supposed to use people who are comparable, but that make sure that they have a diverse enough pool to pick from before they actually do the hiring.
Well, and I also feel like the whole pilot scenario, it was an example, right? Like,
yeah,
pick any profession.
He's basically saying he wasn't like, just kind of using it as an example of normally he wouldn't think that way, but because of policies like DEI, it invokes that type of thinking.
Well, and like, let's look at it this way. White women benefited the most off DEI. My job, there's tons of white chicks that work there who are stupid as hell. I mean, it is what it is.
That's another point to it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, my old team lead, I did her job because she didn't know what she was doing.
And unfortunate. I get the intent, but like he said, go ahead.
Go ahead, Miss Sunshine.
Well, I think in order for us to move Well, hello everybody. How are y'all doing tonight? Thanks for adding me.
Yeah,
I
hello.
think we have to go back to understand why we're at where we're at now. It says I have a poor connection. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Thank you, Byron. Appreciate that, man.
Okay. If you can hear me, I'll keep going. It just said I had a low connection.
We can
So
hear you.
you have to go back. It started with breaking up the family in the homes. There was a democratic law that passed that allowed for assistance that broke up the family. Initially, it was geared towards certain demographics, ended up being poor communities. So when you have a broken home without a mom and a dad, then you have the Clinton deal with China in 2020, I think. That opened up jobs overseas, took jobs away from America. 9/11 happened, the country was united. Obama got elected, the country was united. All while this is going on, kids are going to college because that's what they're taught to do. Go to college, get a degree, get a good job. While these children are going away to college, they're learning things that they weren't taught at home. They're bringing that information back home, and the parents are like, hold up, wait a minute. Why am I paying you to go to college to learn this garbage? This has gone on for 10, 15, 20 years. After Obama was elected, there was a report that came out that said the white male or the white population will be a minority by 2045. So this has been in the works for a very, very, very long time.
Oh, of course.
Trump won after Obama. He won because he was a businessman. Obama only had 2 years to get actual legislation in place because the Republicans took over the House and the Senate, so it was very difficult for him to pass legislation. The one thing he was able to get out was the health care. Awesome. A lot of people were able to help with that. Is it perfect? No, but it was something to bring to the table, and it was something to help people on a mass scale. After the Obamas, and I come from a family where I'm the only non-Trump supporter. Everybody else is a Trump supporter. So I've dealt with this argument and struggled for many
Wait, so
years.
you didn't?
We
So
still
you
have a
didn't
lot of
vote for Trump?
disagreements.
So
But I
you didn't vote
understand.
for Trump?
And Obamacare
No,
also
ma'am.
hurts a
No,
lot of
sir.
people.
No,
My
sir. It
dad
did
got
not.
fine.
All right, hold on, Kristen. Go
It
ahead,
did
man. You
hurt.
finish your point.
You have to look at the 80-20 rule.
Okay.
You have
What's
to
the
look at the
80-20
80-20
rule?
rule. 80% of the
Go ahead.
time it's going to work, 20% of the time it's not. That's just 80% is usually in favor, 20% is not. And that's just in general. I deal with the type of work I'm in, I deal with insurance and things like that. But 80-20 rules, typically 80% of the time, this is how it should be. 20% of the time, it's going to be one off. So, yes, Kristen, you're correct. It didn't always help everybody. But from a majority perspective, the hundreds of millions of people that were able to get it, that couldn't get it before pre-existing conditions, it was life-changing for them. So we've got Trump in office. We got excellent business going on, all kinds of stuff going on, racked up the debt. Everybody was happy. Biden won. Now, mind you, in this time frame, Biden won. This is right when the person who just passed away is starting to figure out what they're going to do. He was told, and I don't know much about him until after he passed, and then I did some research on him. I watched a clip where he goes, the American dream is to go to college. Well, I went to community college and I dropped out. I found a way to do it without it. So it was kind of like a chip on the shoulder to college, like, hey, you don't have to go to college to make it, which is true. You
You
don't
don't.
have to go to college to make it if you find your niche, a trade. His was speaking. He picked up traction after Biden because he was going after a certain demographic. You can totally be a not nice person
You feel
but
like Charlie? You
because
feel like
people at
Charlie?
least see you for what you are.
All right, so you feel like Charlie was going after a certain demographic, or who you talking
He
about? Trump? Who you talking about?
absolutely the white. No, I'm talking about Charlie. So Charlie was going after the white male population. There was a lot of white males that were not voting anymore. And think about it. Their jobs have been taken away from their parents.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole bunch of issues going on.
Okay.
And they're going to college and they feel like they don't have a voice. This is a lot of equality, inclusion, but now they're not being included. They're the ones being excluded. And that's a problem for them because now, for the first time ever, they're not being included in the conversation. Other people are getting included in the conversation. What a way to scare a Republican is to not be included in the conversation or have a say at the table. For a very long time, they felt they haven't had a voice. And now their pain points are on them and they want something to protect them. So when someone speaks up and says something that they've been through or they feel that they can connect with, even if 90% of the stuff he says is vile, they're going to latch on to that because, hey, he's saying stuff that I can resonate with. They saw
what's
potential in
100%?
him and such the young demographic.
What's
Now
the
he's
vile
making money
stuff?
off of it.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to say, what is
What's the
particular are you?
vile stuff?
Well, so for example, I watched a debate where they talked with a girl. She sat at a table, and the first thing that was talking
The
about was
10-year-old giving birth?
pre-life. And he said, right. Now, what I wish he would have said, his opinion is his opinion. But again, the way opinion is his self.
No, before he
I
did so,
disagree.
he said it was ridiculous.
Are you talking to me?
Asked,
Okay. But
because hold on.
no,
Because
absolutely
never,
not.
but
Because
hold
if a
on.
10-year-old
Hold on.
let me finish. Let me finish.
One at a time,
As
y'all.
you're pregnant and you carry a child, that child feels everything you feel. They go through everything that that mother feels. So if that mother's sad, happy, upset, whatever, scared, that baby feels that. Half of that DNA is hers, half of that DNA is that father's. We have
Yep.
mental health issues in this country. So what if the person that did that to her is a schizophrenic? What if that person that did that to her has a serious mental issue that they need to deal with? What if they have some kind of DNA or genetic problem? That child is now forced to deal with her emotions. Half of the DNA of that person who, I think they call it graper, half of the person that did that to her,
What did that
she's
change?
not old enough to make those kind of
So I
decisions.
have a
A parent
question.
should want to
I have a
protect the child
question.
from any kind of harm.
Can I ask a
You don't
question?
know what you're bringing into that world.
Hold
You
on.
can love that
Okay,
baby all you want. You could give that baby the best of life that you want.
I'm going to ask a question.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Real quick.
but my point is, anyone who's willing to grape is mentally ill. Period. That's for one. That's vile. When he was asked that question,
Correct. It goes back to
hold on, by
mentally
a
ill.
liberal college student, might I add, he said it was a ridiculous question. He would never put his daughter in that position. And I know it's hard to believe, but you can protect your kids from that situation at that age. But it's a hypothetical. People are getting so stuck on this hypothetical question and answer and taking it like it's the gospel.
Well, and furthermore, you're right.
Can I ask a question?
And I know people, well, not people, I know.
Well,
one
your
woman
words matter. Your words matter, though. So what you say matters. And once it's out there,
You're
it's
right.
out
You're
there.
absolutely
All
right.
right,
You
yeah,
never
we
went
not
and said
we
anything
not. Hold
different
on,
after that.
hold
You
on, y'all.
buckled
Hold on.
down on
Hey,
it.
1 second, 1 second. She's the only anti. I ain't gonna call you anti. She's the only Charlie Kirk critic up here. Oh no, critic or cosmics up here. But I don't want to. I don't want to dogpile on her. Let's just talk, and we can talk one at a time.
Can I
Go
ask a
ahead.
question?
Hold on, Dawn. I
It's okay.
I want to know who Taylor is,
Yes.
and keep on rolling. Wanted to respond to Miss Sunshine.
And my phone keeps going in and out. I apologize.
It's all right. And then we're gonna hear from Cosmic. I know he got some crying to do. I'm playing, dog. You my dog.
So
All
would you
right,
like Miss
Taylor.
Taylor to go first?
Yes, go ahead, Taylor. Yeah, go ahead, Taylor.
How y'all doing tonight? What's the topic right now? What are we
Okay.
all talking
I
about?
only
We've been
have
kind
like
of back and
3 more
forth.
points to make, but that's it. I'm good.
You've been in here like 4 hours,
She can,
bro.
she,
Literally.
hey,
Like you
she
don't know
can
the
go.
time.
She can go first if she needs. I'm cool. I got plenty of time.
What
Yeah,
the
just
hell? I can follow
yeah,
up the
just
question.
request
Well,
back
I
up
was just
whenever you're
trying to
ready.
go with the history behind of.
Okay.
Oh, I was gonna say I was just trying to go back to how we got to where we're at,
Okay.
because you can't change what's happened. You can only look at it and learn from that and move forward. So if you look at the Republican strategy now, it's to undo everything that's been done
I'm sorry, Miss
since
Sunshine. I don't mean to
before
interrupt. I don't like
the
doing that. But
China
I had a
deal, the Clinton
question
deal, the
before.
Democrats deal.
Can I
Okay,
ask
No,
it real
you're
quick?
okay. It's fine.
Okay, go
Okay.
ahead. Y'all gotta let each other finish, man. I'm just
But
gonna
yeah,
have to
before
drop
we
y'all
move
if
on
y'all
to the
cut
next
each other off.
topic, I did have a question pertaining to, when you said your words matter with the hypothetical. So say I'm someone born out of grape and I'm also disabled. Does that
Okay.
mean that, my young mother who was grape shouldn't have gave birth to me? Does my life now have no
It's
value? Or is
up
it
to your mother's choice, but absolutely not. It's up to it's up to the choice of the mother, but in this case, the mother is a minor.
exactly?
So
So
you have to take all of that into consideration. That's a whole different situation.
So I just want to ask one thing about that, because I feel like as far as his pro-life ideology, you have to keep in mind it is like 100% based on his faith, and his faith views it from
exactly.
his lens. And so I pointed this out a little bit earlier and you weren't here, but there are a lot of religions that have like some views that most people find
Understood.
to be shocking. And if
No,
like
I've been
you have,
here. I've been here for quite a time.
and so my point is just that like if you find his view on that to be so shocking, I mean, I think we can all appreciate that that really is a matter of perspective, but I don't know that that has to point to automatically it being like, as you know what I mean? I just don't think it's as wild of a concept if you consider that it's faith-based.
I just don't think
Yeah.
it's a yes or no answer. I think it's a gray area. I think it's a very gray area because every situation is different. You tell
And
me
Miss
my
Sunshine,
10-year-old child is going to have a
Can we
baby.
talk about the celebrities and the universities and the people getting fired? I want to just touch on that before we get off. I
Well,
just want to
again, it's
talk
a
about.
right to work. I will live in a state where it's a right to work state.
Hold on, hold
So
on, hold on,
if
hold on.
somebody does not want to have an employee work for them,
Okay. All right.
I'm going to jump off. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the
Thank you.
open-mindedness you have shown. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Come back whenever you can. Appreciate you.
Have a great
All
night,
right.
Don.
I will say, you know,
thank
if you're
you.
bold enough, like everybody was talking about Charlie being bold
I
enough
have a
to
bad
speak
signal. I'm
his
going to drop off.
Who said that?
Miss
Miss
Sunshine.
Sun. Have a
All
good
right.
night, Miss Sun.
All right.
And like I said, everybody was getting on here saying that Charlie was bold enough to speak in his opinion, you know, not really giving you know, a karma kind of response, trying to be vague about saying he got his karma. You know, saying when you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Personally, I say at least he had enough courage to pick up the sword. But if you're gonna have that standpoint on it, or you're gonna be so bold as to celebrate somebody's death and being, you know, when it comes to severity of that situation, I mean, that karma you wishing on somebody else, you come right back on you too.
Well, and people forget to realize that employers have a code of conduct, and within that code of conduct is usually a social media clause. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if they don't want to align themselves with someone who celebrates that kind of something happening like that, then that's their right.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do agree. I think, especially since it was such a vast majority of like teachers and medical professionals, I 100% agree with them getting let go. If they work at a McDonald's, I really couldn't care less.
Yeah, there was a nurse the news this morning that said she didn't even know that he passed, but she heard somebody next to her celebrating, and she said she looked down and it was a doctor, and she, oh, you're a doctor celebrating this man's unaliving. That's how deep rooted the hate for politics and people who voted for Trump pretty much and support Trump have gotten. We got a doctor celebrating this man that's passed away, so
I would like to say I think it's even deeper than that versus left and right. I honestly feel like it's people who have God in their heart and people who don't. I'm sorry to put it that way.
yeah,
But
it's
like
good versus
I
evil
really
for
do.
sure.
And I feel like
It's definitely good versus evil.
yeah, and I feel like
I
it's like
don't.
the
I mean,
And that's not to say
go
that
ahead.
you know, everybody's on the right is good neither.
Right. No, we're not saying that.
Because
We're not saying that.
I do feel like people in, you know, positions of power on the right need to be held accountable for things that are going on right now. I don't know if y'all Candace Owens fans. I highly recommend you go watch her last video. Because I'm a Christian first before anything. And I don't care whether you left or right. So, but and I do believe at the end of the day, it's good versus evil.
Yeah, but my fear now with Oregon is now who's gonna, you know what I mean? Now Nick Fuentes is gonna come out of the basement. Milo's gonna come back. People that don't have any good messaging really is gonna come out of the woodwork. Charlie was our moderate, decent.
I encourage
All right.
people who believe in Jesus to get
All
in
right,
your
hold on, y'all.
word.
Hold on. All right, y'all. Time out. We got new people that want to speak. Go ahead, Catherine. What you want to say?
Yeah.
You got focus next.
You already know. You already know how I feel about like the Christianity thing. Like I don't believe like just because you have God in you don't mean you can't be capable of bad things. I mean, there's people who evoke God all the time and say bad things. There's people who say, "Oh, I'm a Christian and I'm God," but then we're cheering on families getting ripped apart during immigration and cheering on other things that were inhumane with people throughout 2025. So, I mean, I don't believe you can be a person of God and vote for Donald Trump, who literally talked about hitting people and radicals and fascists and Marxists and all these things, right? I mean, no one's perfect, right? That's what you're going to say. No one's perfect, right? But you require the left or people on the left to be perfect, which is so weird to me. So it's like no one can be
I can't.
perfect
I'm still
when
stuck on you saying you can't be of God and vote for Trump. I'm still stuck on that.
I'm just saying. Yeah, you can't.
Didn't Biden say he would take Trump behind the gym and punch him in the face?
You can't. I'm just saying. What are you talking about? He was talking about hitting people in the face all the time. There's clips of you need to go rough them up. You need to go hit them up. Like, hello, where have we been in the last 5-6 years?
I would just like to clarify. I just said I don't care whether
come
you
on,
left
get
or
it
right.
together.
Hold people
I
accountable.
think the statement I done heard today. I
Yeah.
done heard some wild stuff today. I think that's the wildest one I done heard today. But
And I
like I
never
said,
cheered on families getting separated. However, I do feel like we need secure borders because a lot of people don't like America, and sleeper cells are a real thing.
all right, I agree. And we got Focus up here. How you doing, Focus, man? What you request up for? You never come up. You usually yap from the bottom. What you want to say, man? All right, I'm thinking Focus came up by mistake, or he can't get off mute.
I think his mic's on mute.
Yeah, go ahead, unmute yourself, Focus. All right, yeah, I'm thinking he came up by mistake because he never really comes up. All right, is that everybody's take? What else we got?
To throw back at Cosmic, him saying all these clips of Trump or whatever, but what about Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, all the politicians on the left where there's literally a 2-minute montage of them inciting violence?
I never said it was just one side, and this whole
Okay,
perception that somehow on the right. I know. I never said that. I'm just saying. Listen, the Republican shit don't stinks too. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, what I hear on the conservative side is you are requiring or you are dumbfounded. Well, not dumbfounded, but you're just requiring people to have empathy when for the last from 2016 to 2020, there was a lack of empathy from your president of the United States, including the supporters. Yeah. That's just crazy to me. Oh, mind you, 4 months ago, people were you know what 4 months ago on X they were doing? Wait, but I'll lean right here. 4 months ago, the same people calling Christian, I'm a Christian, oh God, this, and empathy, why you don't have empathy? We're still freaking making fun of George Floyd, talking about congratulations, George Floyd, you're sober 5 years. So please save me that. Save me that.
That's evil.
Save me the empathy sometimes.
Let me lay my plane with this. Let me lay my plane with this. So, but that's not, we don't care if you have empathy for Charlie Kirk or not. What we care about is the people who are online literally celebrating him being publicly assassinated, essentially.
During George Floyd and what they're doing, even with Trayvon Martin.
I don't stand with anybody who supported George.
Were y'all not around when George Floyd and Trayvon Martin, when they were unalive? Did you not see what they were doing?
You know what made people mad about George Floyd was cities were
Trayvon Martin set me off. So
I cared more about
on one call set me off.
Wait. Gigi, I'm not making anything up. Just like that photo that you made up by taking the Super Bowl picture of them, those people holding the flag, and it really was from the Super Bowl and not actually from what they were doing. So you are making things up, ma'am. You are. Anywho, go ahead.
We got T. Go ahead, T. What you want to say, T? Then we're gonna go to Ashley. What up, T?
I'm a follower of yours. Let me say that. I'm a follower. I don't agree.
I appreciate that.
I don't agree. Well, we don't. We all don't have to agree, right? We can sit there and listen to a conversation and don't agree. You know what I'm saying with what we're hearing, right? But for me, for most of all, you a brother. So I'm gonna always stand by your side and support you if I can, and the way that I can, right? Okay, that's the way I feel. Okay, but at the same time, okay, so this guy that we're talking about right now, I think the problem is not that the person that we're talking about was unalived, right? We're talking about we're talking about having sympathy for an individual that has and was spitting hatred amongst people that will come and known to come and put babies and throw babies in fires, right? And not only throw babies in fires, but take babies. Hold on, listen to me.
Hold on,
Not
y'all.
only
No cut,
take
don't cut him off. Let
babies
him finish.
and throw them in fires, but throw them in water with alligators, right? We're talking about just the words of a person, right? So that hatred, right, for that individual, just because of that, right? This is where the hatred, I think this is where the hatred comes in. Like the Ku Klux Klan, right? The Ku Klux Klan been around for centuries,
Can't say
right?
that, sir. Can't say that. Can't say that.
Okay,
That's
I'm
a
sorry,
banned
sir.
word.
I'm not, you know,
Please,
I wouldn't
please
do
don't.
anything to try to hurt your
No,
life.
you good.
I
Just
apologize.
go ahead.
But those people, right, should have been non-existent for a long time, but they still exist, right? Those hate groups. It's not the YT people that I think people dislike. It's those hateful people that dislike me just because of the color of my skin.
Who?
And when I see those people, and they come manifesting those things, because I know their capabilities through history, right? I know their capabilities. So with that said, it makes you where you say, hey, I want to celebrate Ku Klux Klan and their downfall. You see what I'm saying?
Come back up. Just try not to say the three
I
Ks. Call them
mean,
3Ks. Try to use TikTok. Come back up, T. I know you're probably new to it. Just try not to say none of those groups. Follow TikTok rules. Follow TikTok language. I know you probably don't know, but just request back up. I'll bring you back.
I mean, I just hope that
Well, let
people
me see.
just
Let me see
don't.
who this heavy guy is. What up, heavy?
Okay.
How you doing, heavy? What you want to say?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
My
sir.
mic
Yeah, we
on?
can hear you.
Okay, hey, sorry, bro. I just kind of new at this. I've actually not been on. I've never really had TikTok till about a week ago. So
All right.
my deal is I've enjoyed listening to the conversations and the different opinions that everybody has, right?
Yeah.
But as far as there was a young lady talking about border patrol and stuff, which I agree on some part, right? But I also say that if it wasn't for immigration, we wouldn't have been here, right? I
I won't
mean,
negate that.
you talk about hatred, you talk about pew pewing, right? But that stuff started when Daniel Boone, the greatest hunter and scavenger that ever crossed this country, took a group of people and introduced them to the wild culture to provide for them, right? But before he passed on, right, he wept. He wept because he seen this beautiful countryside that he knew that could supply our country for years and years and years. They destroyed it in just a little while.
Who?
And that was his biggest regret.
What are you talking about, Willis?
Yeah, I'm
Who?
confused.
Who?
Right? So when you talk about the different types of people, so I'm a project manager for a company and I have, I don't know, probably 300 people that work for me. And it's a mix of cultures, right?
Okay, so you're making the point of, the point of this, like the country is beautiful as it is because we're a melting pot, because we have people from all walks of life.
Absolutely.
And I
But
agree,
I
sir. I
think that,
agree. I
I'm
believe
sorry.
in legal immigration. I believe
Yeah.
that there should be a due process.
Correct.
So like when we have undocumented people, it gets, real murky and we can't keep track of who's coming over here. And that's when things get dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I believe there can be a little trickle. I mean, because have some of y'all up in here who be in the comments who have Hispanic parents or grandparents got over here illegally, and so you're actually a product. If we were to send them back, I think we should send you back too. So,
Wow.
yeah,
What?
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because if you're not for illegal immigration, so some of y'all know that you have parents. One of your parents either crossed over the border, or you have a grandparent that crossed over the border. So you are a product of a party that crossed over here illegally. And that's
Do you
my whole
believe we
point with
should
some
have
of these
open
Hispanics.
borders?
This was my whole point with some of these Hispanics. You'll go after the people who cross over the border, then knowing that even
It's
your parents may have crossed over the border with you, just because you got your citizenship. That is some shit right there.
They
do
make
you,
that
do
choice
you
for their
support open
parents.
borders,
Pastor.
Cosmic? Cosmic, do you support open borders?
Recognize there's like
I want to hear what Ashley got to say. We haven't heard from Ashley. I think she's a little more calm now. You kind
No,
of break. You
yeah,
kind of.
yeah.
told
All I'm
you,
saying is,
you took me off when I was
You
a
kind of
little
breaking up,
irate.
Cosmic. Yeah. How
oh,
you
I'm
doing,
breaking up. I'm
Ashley?
sorry. Let me drop down.
What you want to say? All right. What you want to say, Ash?
Oh, what happened?
Well, I think he was having a bad connection. I think he's going to come back up. What you want to say about the topic?
Well, I don't understand a little bit of the topic. I'm just going to be real right there. Because it was a little this way and that way. So I don't want to speak.
We started getting on the topic of border control. The gentleman heavy, he
You
touched
can
on
change
that.
the topic if you want.
Yeah, just give us your thoughts, General. We could go back to the topic. How do you feel about the response to Charlie Kirk's passing?
I think that it is. I was very emotional speaking about it. I think that I've had a couple days to think about it. I think that I'm going to be completely honest. I was in my emotions speaking about it. I don't like it. I think that it's wrong. I do think that it's a little vicarious with, Democrats are gonna shoot, try to kill Trump,
All right. Oh
and
Lord, yeah, that's a wrap. Go ahead, get you some rest for the night, Ashley. We're gonna go ahead and wrap that up. Who else we got up here? T. All right, T. Now we're gonna try you again, T. Again, you can't say the K letter. You cannot say any of these hateful groups, man. If you could just speak in general terms, how do you feel about the topic and what you've heard so far, Mr. T? Go ahead, unmute yourself, sir.
So into a host because I know I made a lot of mistakes, and I really didn't mean to, because one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to hurt you. You know what I mean? I don't want to hurt you. I don't
you're all
care
right.
about
You're
the
all
rest
right, man.
of it, but
I know you're learning, man.
I
You're
don't want to
learning.
hurt
It's
you.
okay. No, it's
Right.
okay.
Right.
You're learning.
Well, I know better. I'm not gonna make no excuses, bro. I know better. But yeah. But yeah.
Heard.
I
It's all
just
good, Mr. T.
be
It's all
speaking so
good.
fast sometimes, and then I
It's
be
all
forgetting.
good. It's all good.
But yeah, I just believe that the people
Hey, Cassie.
is like upset of the delivery of his
his
of his
content.
conversation.
Right.
Yeah, his content. Right.
Right.
And so with
So are
that,
you?
not
Let me
only
ask you
that,
this:
but he's taking. Yes, sir.
From what you heard, are you offended, or were you offended by anything you heard coming from his podcast or coming from his debates?
Well, you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm gonna be honest with you, host. I didn't even know the man.
Okay.
To be really honest with you, everything that I know about the man is hearsay. I'm completely honest. You know what I'm saying? Everything I heard about the man was completely hearsay. And the reason why I say it was hearsay, because I really didn't hear nothing but the speech that he was making before he was unalive. Right?
But
I
this is
didn't
And
hear
then
anything.
you shouldn't have to hear
from
anything or know anything to be upset about that action taking place in America in 2025.
so from that point, you know what I'm saying, with my own judgment, right? My own kind of feelings, right? With American people, right? I was really unconcerned. I was only being honest though, because people be unalived every day, right? We just had
Right.
this right before him that was in office that was unalive, and I didn't know that man, but the flag didn't go down for him or none of this, right? And then we have people from other countries that's being unalive, that we're not concerned of. And then some of us even got to the point, I've heard this statement, right? About this one country that we just um, a bomb for the is that all right to say? Oh, I guess it is.
How about Target? We'll say Target got targeted.
The targeting, because they supposed to have the capabilities of nukes, right? And so we went over there and we tore it up. But this woman and a few other people were saying that, you know what? Those people dislike us. They always talk. They're always saying how they dislike us and how they want to unalive us and this and this and that. And that's the reason. That should be a reason why to unalive those people, right? So you're justifying the reason because they said something. You're justifying the reason because they dislike America and they're expressing it, right? And that they should be unalive. And then you come with this man, and here he is talking about BLK people and women and different stuff like that. And he's given the same scenario as the people in that other country, right? But then we agree with them. It's all right for him to do it, but it's not all right for that other country to do it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, man, what are we talking about here? You're talking about that. Okay, we got kids right here in the United States that's going through certain situations that we can help.
Mr. T, I just want to encourage you to I know
That we got things here in the United States of America that's going on. And it's just like, well, if we believe all this, right? If we believe all this sympathy, right, which the man talked about that he don't want no sympathy before he passed. Empathy, he said. Empathy is for weak people or whatever. If we giving him all this, right, and at the same time we upset with people.
That's not the full quote, sir.
Excuse me.
That wasn't the full quote.
I get it's not the full. I'm trying to minimize
He said he
what I
preferred
say.
sympathy
But
over empathy because it's been weaponized.
I listen. I'm trying to, madam. I'm trying to shortens things for I won't be so long with my words, you know, because then you
And
get
I
shut down
understand that,
like
sir,
that.
but I believe
So,
context matters.
but
Yeah.
I'm gonna mute up right now and land my plane with that.
Thank you,
What
Morgan.
I have a question. What I can't read the full name. What did you say to Mr. T? What did you say the full quote was?
So when he said that he didn't like the word empathy, he said it was because it's become a buzzword, and it's been weaponized, and he preferred the word sympathy.
Okay,
Empathy
so I
because
just have to say this, right? Any married man would lie to you if he said he didn't need empathy.
that's not
Because
what I'm
because we
saying.
get that, we get that from our wives or the women that we can communicate with and talk to, right? Because as a man, it's hard for us to express our feelings sometimes, right?
And I understand, I
And
respect that.
and I respect what you said. I truly do, but I feel that at some point, if he, I don't. That's one thing that if he said that, I truly disagree with it. And
Listen, everybody disagrees with everything when you're dead because they can't count. You can't debate with them. Charlie's been going on a debate tour for years. None of these idiot fucking people went up there to go debate him or wanted to have a meeting of the minds and share their thoughts. These are demonic people. These are people who do not believe in God because the things that they are doing today are against God. They know what their true intentions are. It's not for equality. It's not so they can vote. They already can vote. They already can go everywhere, do everything they want to do. The only thing they can't do is mess with kids. And that's what all of this is about. And the problem is when when the black community is running defense for the pedophiles, now you guys are all together. As men, just men in general, you don't have to be a conservative. If you can't protect children from monsters, then what good are you? We were never going to allow that. Charlie pushed back on that. Charlie helped people understand what we were really fighting against and all the manipulation of the children in schools. And he would go to a college campus and tell you that the college is scamming you. You're getting a degree in African American studies, but that degree will not help you be able to afford to pay for the tuition that it took to earn the degree because it's worthless. All these random majors and all this, it's all bullshit, just scam you out of money. Charlie was right. If you're really trying to get into the workforce and support yourself and your family, you would have took a trade. But these people, remember, don't have families. They envy the family to the point where they hate the family because they can never have one. Just like people that have alopecia, they hate people with lots of hair because they can't grow it. It's an envy thing. So your favorite celebrity, you become so much of a fan that you want to kill your favorite celebrity sometimes. And it's just like it's a progression for people that have a mental illness, and they're not able to separate what they can do from what they should do, and they want to blame you for any of their shortcomings. Again, the childlike mentality of the community is, well, if it wasn't for white people, this, that, and the third. So it's like because these people, they will never take responsibility or accountability for themselves. That's just not a part of their DNA. And it's unfortunate. But there have been solutions proposed. This is one of the only problems that we could really just vaccinate our way out of, and we have. You just haven't seen the results yet because you're not looking. You don't know where to look. I do. Safe and Effective Podcast on Instagram or Right Wing Rico on Instagram. I do keep score and I do explain to you that it is working. You just don't know about it because you don't know where to look. I'm sorry that I had to torture you guys with listening to these leftists and these black army lunatics complain, but you have to understand who your enemies are. The good thing is now they're being weeded out. They've exposed themselves. We're able to keep track of them. We're able to fire them. We'll never hire them again. And guess what? They can go ask one of their own for help. this whole parallel economy they're setting up, we already have one. It's just going to eventually lead to a war or to a strife, a conflict that they are not going to win. They're not. Their guerrilla tactics is just going to trigger us. But I'll be honest, they were never meant to win. The powers that be want them gone too. They just want us to do it for them. The private sector is already taking care of this issue for the most part. It's just that it's taking too long. So now they're going to stoke these flames. It's unfortunate that Kirk had to be used in this way, and it's just sad that we had to lose him. But he was the good one. He was one of the good ones, one of the best. I admired him. I appreciated him. So to hear these monsters talk like this, I've never heard anyone say any of this stuff in person in real life. A lot of these people live on the internet, but they live around some people. They just don't live around people like me. They don't live in my neighborhood. So I've never been anywhere and seen anyone say any of these things. And I was at the vigil. I went to the memorial for Charlie a couple days ago here in Phoenix. Apparently some idiot, one person came over there and tried to mess up the memorial and was quickly taken down. But I never see any of this stuff. And it's like, just like a lot of us, we're not around people with this mental illness. They don't like me. They actually seek out each other and they reaffirm each other's mental illness because they don't question each other about it. If you say something crazy and I say something crazy, we both just say crazy thing. Now we have something in common. Anybody who questions it that might unravel our psychosis, we have to get them away from us and ban them. On this side, again, we just don't know those people, so we don't know what they're thinking. We don't know what they're saying. So that's why I share a video like this so that you can have a little bit of insight. As conservatives, we're all banned on TikTok. Tim Pool's banned. I've lost 8 pages. We're not allowed to be on here because these beliefs have to fester somewhere. This is where they're hidden. You don't know about them because you're not allowed to get on there. And as soon as you share some of your content, then you're going to get banned. So this is why we have to find ways to listen in on what they're saying. And, these people are trouble. These people are extremists. These people are dangerous. And remember, they have no children. They have no families. They have nothing to live for. They don't have anything coming up to live for. So because they don't want to die alone, they just want to take you with them. Now, when I try to explain this to people, I get a lot of pushback, but these are from people that are in denial because they want to believe that we are still in Kansas. Dorothy, we left Kansas a long time ago. That plane been departed. Share the video, like and subscribe. The Single Boyfriend, Right Wing Rico. I'm building these channels. I'm going to be right back. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put that episode about Bill Maher. And we're just going to go over the fact that there really is not a culture war. We wouldn't, as conservatives, we don't care how you live your life. You can live it, you can dress up as a duck all day and stay in your house for all we give a shit. That doesn't make a difference to us. The problem is you want access to kids, and that's what you're fighting us over. You're fighting us for access to kids. That's the only thing you don't got that you want is access to children. We can't have that. And I'm just going to keep telling people that there is no left. There's just people that want access to kids. That's it. So can I call you left-leaning? Think about it. There's a lot of conservatives that think, hell, we can send hundreds of billions to Ukraine and we can pay for education. Why are there student loans? Why are there bills for certain things when we can send money to Israel every year and we can afford all? That doesn't make you a leftist. Universal health care, in a way, does make you a leftist because if you can eat yourself into sickness legally in the United States, but you want my taxes to be raised so that I can cover your treatment for your health care and your bad decisions, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. That's a leftist stance. Universal health care. I don't believe in it. I don't. But you can, but there are some conservatives that might think, hey, maybe that's a good idea. The only thing that we can never agree on these two sides is going to be access to sex with children. We're not going to be able to. As a matter of fact, if you're a leftist, if you came out and said, hey, I'm against pedophilia, and no, that's not what we want, they'll kick you out. They won't let you come to their events. You'll no longer be invited to the cookouts because now you're offending their sexual orientation. Remember, MAPS is a really big part of the LGBTQP. A lot of their money and funding comes from people that are MAPS. That's the whole push from the World Economic Forum as well. So this is bigger. This is the globalists influencing and manipulating the small masses in these countries. They want access to kids. That's the only thing they don't have. Everything else we can pretty much cohabitate with. It's just that when you want access to kids, we can't allow that. If you want to wait till the kid is 19, 20 and go make a pass at him, that's between you and him and God. The kid likes that kind of stuff. You know, he's an adult. But when they're 8, 9 years old, 5 years old, and you want to cut off their body parts, well, then that's when the lines are drawn. And that's why we are at where we are right now. This war that is pending, it's not about racism. It's not about being misogynistic or any of these other bullshit terms that go around. This access is between people who want to have sex with kids versus people who will not ever allow it. There is nothing else between us. That's it. That's it. So I'll be back. We're going to bring up this Bill Mayer episode. I want to just go over it because he's, you know, they just don't get it. And I'm like, do they not want to get it because it makes for good content? Or do they just not want to offend too many people so they pretend they don't understand? But that's all this is. This is about kids. This isn't about, there's nothing else. There's nothing else these people are saying that they want. They can't tell you what rights they lost. They can't tell you because it's embarrassing. They're going to have to admit this is about kids. They don't want to do that. Follow, share. I'll be back shortly.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.